You're listening to the Personal Mastery Podcast with Ari Baga, interviewing CEOs and executives who are performing at the highest level in their industry, working purposefully towards a vision in alignment with their values, and in a state of constant learning about the self. In this episode of the Personal Mastery Podcast, we have Jai Kim, who is the co-founder of Hydrant. Jai and his co-founder Matt started Hydrant with just a couple $100s in the bank and grew it to an 8-figure brand. They recently raised $5.7 million without a pitch deck, and he's going to tell us how they did it, as well as his entire journey from starting the brand from scratch to now a fast-growing brand. There's a lot of content in this podcast. I'm super excited for you to check it out. So without further ado, here's Jai. Jai, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And you've been living in New York for quite some time now, correct?
Yeah, I haven't left the city even during the peak of the pandemic.
Wow. Yeah, I've noticed a lot of people kind of left, but you're still New York strong. So
Holding the fortress.
Yeah. So you started out, you went to business school, correct?
That's right. I was at Penn.
Oh, Penn. Okay. And what did you study there exactly?
It was business school MBA. Yeah.
Oh,
We haven't
okay.
decided concentration. I was only
concentration is what I meant.
Yeah, I was only in 3 weeks before I left, so I can't even really say I went there, but I was really there momentarily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what you learned there, like after like running your business now, do you think it's like on par with what business actually is?
You mean like if I think about what I learned there during the first 3 weeks?
Yeah.
I don't think I can, claim that I went through the Wharton curriculum to, make a fair statement about what they offer. So I'll definitely avoid making that statement. But what I can say is, I think for me, while I was there, I realized it wasn't the best fit for me because I went there thinking that I was gonna, run a business while I'm in business school, start a business, and most of the people that I met were interested in kind of making a career transition to consulting or banking. So a lot of them were talking about getting an internship there. And the interests were just not kind of aligned. And I wanted to be in an environment where people kind of share the vision of starting their business and kind of going through the founder journey.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, you started consulting?
No. So let me give you an overview background on myself. So
Okay.
I started my career as a consultant at McKinsey. Penn was 2 years ago, MBA. So that was 2 years ago. So yeah. So I started my career as a consultant at McKinsey and then spent rest of my time in private equity before I went to business school. And then I was in business school trying to start a hydration business. And I was sort of like stuck with the product development process because, like I explained, my background is all kind of focused on the quote unquote, like the business related experiences and nothing to do with science or wellness, right? Okay. And a friend of mine connected me to my current partner, John, who went to Oxford, studied, science, and he already had a identical product that I've been trying to make, but he didn't have the skill set that I did, right? He was still trying to figure out how to raise money and think about the strategy to grow the business. So we chatted and we instantly clicked and realized we had a complementary skill set, and we decided to, kind of become a co-founder. And that was basically 3 weeks into the business school.
Oh, okay. So
I started Hydrant after that, not go into consulting after that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you majored in hydration or something. Glad to know like you weren't in like science or anything like that. So it was
No,
that
no,
like
no.
a personal problem that you were trying to solve, or was it just like a business case that you kind of saw?
Yeah, so I've always been a guy where if you open up my kitchen cabinet, it's like filled with supplements, and I would try all these different types of ingredients that are supposed to be, energizing or body hacking, and I've been like an avid user of energy drinks and coffee. And a friend of mine who was really into body hacking was asking, "Have you tried hacking hydration?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Does that just mean like drinking like a gallon or two of water every day or something?" And he basically says similar, but you should first start your day with electrolytes. So I was
Okay.
like, Gatorade? He's like, "Oh, like sure, but there are more products out there with less sugar. It just it just happens to be that none of them taste good, but
Mhm.
it helps you to feel better and kind of reduce the reliance on caffeine." So I tried it for about a month or two, like drinking a lot of water with electrolytes, starting from first thing in the morning. And I started to feel a lot more energized in a natural way. I started to have less of that kind of peaks and troughs of caffeine. So I was thinking, well, I definitely feel better, feeling much healthier. Um, but I really enjoy the experience of drinking these electrolyte products.
Mhm.
Gatorade was way too sweet and sugary. A lot of these other hydration supplements were trying to taste like Gatorade, but failing to taste good. So I was thinking, why don't I create something that is more optimized for like a lifestyle where you can drink it every day, kind of treat it like a vitamin, and then you can also enjoy the experience.
Mhm.
So that was a personal problem that I was trying to solve, and I was kind of failing to nail the product development piece.
Mhm. Yeah, I recently also became some sort of like biohacker. I have like so many supplements of just like superfood
Oh,
powders.
nice.
Yeah, that I try out. But one thing that sucks is drinking a gallon of water every day. Like it's
Oh
like
yeah,
that's like a
that's a
lot of
lot.
water that you have to carry anyway. And if
Yeah.
you're like working and doing all this stuff, like where are you gonna carry like a
Mhm.
gallon of water?
Mhm.
So that's why like I'm guessing
Mhm.
most people don't even drink a gallon of water every day.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't even enjoy the plain water taste. And some people do, but a lot of our customers don't. So Hydrant makes kind of drinking a lot of water a very enjoyable experience. So we focus a lot on the experience aspect.
Yeah, I ordered the product before too.
Oh,
I think I
nice.
ordered the lemon, uh, I think I ordered like 220 packs or something. And
Mm.
actually like you don't have to drink that much water and actually like tastes pretty good.
Yeah, it makes you want to like drink more water, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
there's like some sort of like aftertaste, like lemon taste. That's actually like really good too.
Yeah, I mean, for all of our products, we flavor them with real fruit juice. That's
Oh
where you
wow.
get that real fruit flavor.
Mhm. So when you met your co-founder, so he was in the science, you're more like in the business. How did you guys like end up starting to work together? Because I think he started like the brand before, right? He
Yeah,
started on
yeah,
Indiegogo, etc. Yeah.
yeah. It's honestly, it's a pretty interesting experience, and we tried to like not disclose that in the
Yeah.
beginning because when we were going to fundraise, and like a lot of these traditional Silicon Valley investors were like, you know, how long have you known your co-founder? Was he your childhood friend? Have you worked with him and in your previous job? And typically, everyone will say, I've known, so and so for 10 years, blah, blah, blah. But we've known each other for 3 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, I think basically what happened was we were struggling
Yeah.
independently, right, on our own. For me, I couldn't even get the product right. So I've been constantly just like wasting time trying to figure out, do I want to increase this or decrease that? Like, what's the ideal nutritional fact that I want to get? Blah blah blah. And John kind of nailed that, but had basically $500 left in the bank account. Wasn't really doing much in sales. Was sort of like trying to still figure out how to raise money from angels versus fund, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think we were both tired in terms of like working alone and facing the problem. And we were just thinking, why don't we just outsource each of our weakness and rely on each other, right? And then just become a team. So that's how we just started to work together and ink the paper and just kind of execute. It was really weird. It was a very weird process in the beginning, but a few weeks in, we clicked, and it was pretty natural.
Yeah, even like for like a product that people have to ingest, did you guys have to like go through like FDA or anything like that?
I mean, there are things that we have to be compliant for FDA in terms of manufacturing process, claims, and package labeling. So there are components where we have to go through, but it's not like as rigorous as a drug per se.
Mm-hmm. And when you launched the brand, did you only launch direct to consumer, or did you also
we did.
like try? Okay.
We did. We first started to sell our product on our website, drinkhydrant.com. A couple months in, we started to sell on Amazon, and within a year, we started to sell in retail. We basically did a lot of things that were sort of against the playbook. Mm-hmm. Like the playbook, like the Casper Warby Parker playbook is, don't go to retail nor Amazon for, as long as you can. Like, there were so many investors, that were asking, are you planning to go to Amazon or not? Look at Warby Parker, blah, blah, blah. You should start your own store, before you go to Amazon. Yeah, I mean, we didn't want to like follow a certain playbook. We wanted to solve problems in the best way we can. We wanted to approach problem with independent thinking, and we're fortunate to say that we got rejected by the investors who are looking for playbooks, and was able to source capital from investors who are welcoming independent thinking.
And we're going to talk more about that, but talk to me about like the launch of Hydrant with your co-founder. Like, were you guys like tens of thousands of dollars after a couple of weeks, or were you guys like surprised?
No, we were definitely surprised by the difficulty of the launch in the beginning. Yeah. We're doing like $1,000 per month, not tens of thousands, like $1,000 per month, maybe 2,000 or 3,000, and this was basically Q4 of 2018, right? Because we launched the business around September of 2018. So for September to December, it was very slow. We were like doing guerrilla marketing by blasting in different MBA group me's, telling them about the startups, telling them this is great for general hydration needs, your workout, and also for hangover, et cetera, et cetera. We're trying everything, and it wasn't really working out. And we also had one product that was also an issue. We only had line, nothing else. So starting from 2019, it started to grow much more quickly. We introduced a second flavor, grapefruit, and a lot of customers who were sick of lime started to come back to try grapefruit. And as we started to add more flavors and test different paid marketing channels such as Facebook and Google, things Hydrant started to catch fire. It started to grow really quickly, and then we had some PR news coverage, and that's kind of where everything kind of jumped.
Mm-hmm. And talk to me about like your ideal customer, because like it can be kind of hard to figure out like who your ideal customer would be, because like everybody can drink water, right? Yeah, so how do you even like nail down like your ideal customer?
So honestly, our customer profile is
the whole world.
Is the whole world. Like I would say the core, customers are the typical customers you would think of who are active and who is looking for something healthier than traditional sports drink, to consume less sugar, that's better for you, that's made with better for you ingredients. So that's like the core customer group. And then after that, beyond that, there is a group of customers who are kind of struggling from the morning grogginess, and they're treating the symptom with Hydrant, because a lot of time, that morning grogginess comes from dehydration. So that's a big group of customers. And then the last kind of like big chunk of customers would be the customers who are struggling to drink enough water in a day because they don't like the experience and they want to kind of spice up the experience with drinking water with Hydrant.
Mm-hmm. Now, going from a couple thousand to seven figures, can you talk about some of the things that it took to get there? Like maybe like top three main things?
Yeah, I think product innovation was big because we started to see real compound growth as we started to see our customers repeat. So as we acquire customers and a lot of our customers start to repeat, our growth started to kind of fuel. About 50% of our transactions volume it comes from subscription. So
wow.
yeah, so that definitely helps. And then I think the second piece is kind of through a lot of iteration, like finding the product market fit, right? Trying all different kinds of talking points through Facebook, influencers, and all these different channels. We're able to find a way to kind of scale the business very quickly. And it's kind of that flywheel effect, right? We acquire a lot of customers through various channels that's optimal for us. And we see a lot of customers repeating, whether through subscription or non-subscription, but constantly repeating off of one-time purchase. That has been the biggest impact.
Now, I remember seeing some of your Facebook ads too. And I know you and your co-founder are very involved in the ads. Can you talk about like why you get yourselves and your stories involved with the brand and how
Sure.
that has worked out?
So I'm less so involved with the ads. So John
Okay.
used to be very much involved with the ad. I think it's because of two different reasons. So we always talked about Oxford scientists who wanted to put a face into that to make sure that it's real. So that was one. And second was John is great at explaining science in a way that is simple and is fun to listen to. So we were leveraging that in the beginning days. Now we spend most of our investments in terms of creative on either UGC or just product photos with like reviews and basic call outs on the benefits of the product. Yeah, so not anymore in terms of relying on myself or my co-founder to be in the ads.
Nice. Now, you guys recently raised $5 million, right?
So we raised our Series A. We announced our raise of Series A recently, and it was 5.75 million. Yeah.
Okay. Now, at which point, like, did you guys feel that you needed to raise money? Was that to like just keep scaling the growth, or what was the idea behind that?
Yeah. So here's how I think about the evolution of the business. So on the product innovation side, there is a lever of expanding the product lines and continuing to produce more flavor options within each line. So that costs money. So we're already going through that and wanted to increase the pace of that. So that was one piece. Second piece is we wanted to expand our channel in terms of distribution channels. I know like the traditional playbook would be to rely on direct to consumer for as long as you can, but I think for us, we love retail. So we love retail as well. So we wanted to expand our retail channel very quickly. And for a business that is completely relying on single channel versus multi-channel, have a different team profile. So we wanted to make sure that we had resources to support that go-to-market strategy, but also had the right team members to fully execute that. So for those reasons, we decided to raise money when we thought it was the right time to do so.
Okay. Now, when it comes to raising money, a lot of founders want to know, like, what does it take to raise money, especially like Series A, $5.7 million. That's a lot of money, actually. So can you give like a couple of tips that really helped you? Was it the product? Was it you and your co-founder?
So I think first thing is for you to realize or do the research to be aware whether your category is a category that investors care about or not, right? I think even if you have a impressive background and even if your product is outstanding, if your category is extremely competitive and if investors don't really see that as a category with big potential at least in the near future, you're probably going to struggle to raise money. Very fortunately, I think, even though now our category has gotten fairly crowded, but when we were starting out, our category wasn't that crowded from our perspective. There are only a handful of existing players that kind of had the big name in the market. And investors were looking for a few horses to bet on within the category. So we had a lot of inbound interest. So we already knew that this was a category that was interesting to VCs. So that's the one piece, like knowing how attractive your market is. And second piece is figuring out who are those investors who are interested in this category, right? Because you could go to thousands of VCs, right? Like, or family offices. But only a handful of them will be very excited about your category and about your background and your product. So it's doing the research on who would be the investors that would understand this category so that you can have a seamless conversation about the vision of the business. So we did that. So we had an inbound interest, and then from talking to these investors, we were able to figure out who are the appropriate types of investors we should be continuing to network with. And after kind of finding that group of investors, we started to kind of share our plan for the year and kept updating them on our progress to hitting those milestones. And when we told them that, hey, we're planning to raise money on month XYZ and demonstrating that we were beating our targets and hitting our milestones on time, a lot of investors actually reached out to us several months before our original plan to raise money, kind of wanting to do a deep dive in the business and kind of kick off the raise. Because a lot of investors want to be competitive with their deals, right? So we were very fortunate to kind of raise our Series A without a single slide of PowerPoint.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
That's how I would think about the raise. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Like, people always are working on the pitch decks and like having so many meetings. Like, it's really great that you guys were able to do that without like.
I think we're very lucky. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now I want to get more into like the website and marketing side of things, since that's like the area that you're focused on. Now talk to me about like the design of the brand and how it's really helped in terms of performance, because you guys have like really amazing packaging, a really nice website, emails, etc. Can you talk about the role of design in the brand of Hydrant?
Yeah, I think it really comes out to a couple of things. I think one is we wanted people to, given that it's a wellness brand and it's something that you're putting in your body, we wanted to make sure that it conveys premium, right? If you're putting something in your body, it better be something that's really good for you. So that was one thing that we wanted to nail. And then the second piece is when it comes to marketing, I'm sure you're familiar with this when you're doing, paid marketing, the products has to really pop. There are certain packaging and brands that are, beautifully born for Instagram, and some of them are just not, right? It's tough. So the color scheme and then the font and then the way we designed the product was really also optimized for that. So from an acquisition perspective, I think those elements played a big role into it, kind of creating the trust and making sure that people are enjoying purchasing the product and consuming the product. And I think in terms of a retention, like the design of the website and like the seamless of the UI UX of the website and our SMS email flow has played a huge role in and optimizing our retention metrics.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to channels for growth, you guys are doing Facebook, Instagram, email, text. Are you guys also doing Google?
Yeah, we're also doing Google.
Okay.
Branded search, Google Shopping.
Now, what's like the most interesting thing that you found that people are like searching for that you were able to capitalize on?
I wish I had a more interesting answer for that, but it's
Yeah,
very like straightforward. Like people
it's just like,
looking for hydration related drinks. Yeah.
mm,
Or heat
okay.
recovery. Maybe there's something that's a bit interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Because sometimes like brands end up uncovering like different new keywords or different things like that they never thought like people were searching for, and they end up
I,
really capitalizing on it.
I would say maybe specific flavors.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes, we see, oh, they're looking for something specifically related to orange. And, that search is crushing for our orange related flavors. Those are some of the things that we didn't expect.
Mm-hmm. Now, after setting up DTC, you said you guys went to Amazon like after like a couple months. Can you talk
Mm-hmm.
about what role Amazon plays in your omni-channel approach?
Yeah, I think omni-channel plays a few different roles. Like one is reaching audiences that will be difficult or more expensive for us to reach when we're a single channel player. So that's one. Two is creating a very convenient experience for a customer to come back. Not everyone would want to be on a subscription, right? So they could be familiar with our business through our Instagram ad and they make their first purchase on our website, but they could always want 2 day like free shipping, or 1 day shipping. So they rely on Amazon for that. They could be having a party like 3 days out and they want to make sure they have the product, and they could order on Amazon. Or they want to have party like today, or they're going to work out a lot, later in the day. They'll go to their nearest Walmart or Whole Foods to grab Hydrant. So from our perspective, it's really to reach the audience that's really difficult to reach as a single channel player, and to make sure that we create the most convenient experience for customers to be a lifetime customer for Hydrant.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have like your key products, or do you have like your entire product collection on Amazon?
That's a great question. So in the beginning, we had all of our products, but as we are launching new products such as sugar-free, immunity, or caffeine variety pack, we have not introduced them to Amazon, because you will see some impact on your acquisition metrics if you open up your distribution channel, because some people will look at the ad and decide to make a purchase outside of your website. So we wanted to maintain certain number of SKUs exclusive to our website, so that, that those metrics are not too impacted for measuring return investment purposes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, because like sometimes when I go on Amazon and I order like one DTC product, I try to grab like all other DTC brands that I might be interested in that are also
Yeah.
on Amazon, and it's usually like for convenience.
Yeah.
You get the 2 day shipping, and it's always better than like ordering on an actual brand site.
Yeah.
But I know like a lot of brands try to also, because like when you order on Amazon on your side, it's not too good because you don't have all that customer data. So have you guys tried like different ways to try to like get those customers from Amazon to also come back to direct to consumer, where it might be more profitable, or anything like that?
So it's a pretty dangerous line, because if Amazon quickly finds out that you're trying to like steal customers away from Amazon, you'll be banned from
Yeah.
the store.
Yeah.
So we don't try to do that too much. But if customers ever visit our site and realizes that certain products are not available on Amazon, they wanted to try those, and they'll come back. What some of the other brands do that I think is interesting is to differentiate their product offerings on Amazon from their website by offering different pack sizes. So you can have a different pack, like a pack size on Amazon versus your website to decide which site you want to have a lower entry price point. I've definitely seen that before. Most of the time I've seen Amazon product pricing being cheaper than their website.
Interesting. Now you started like with a single product, and now you have about like what, 6+ products?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot more, but yeah.
Yeah. So was the idea to like just like increase AOV, or what was the idea behind like expanding your product line?
So it's a few things. I think the one is to first focus on creating the best enjoyable experience for the customers. And that experience comes from one, discovery of like new product, and two, having variety of delicious options, right? I think at the end of the day, in a beverage industry, if you don't have great taste, you don't have a business. So like you could have the most delicious lime flavor, but a customer who just doesn't like lime, period, is not going to enjoy that product. So we wanted to kind of have enough types of flavor options so that we can accommodate all customer types. So we had a lot of products and flavor options for that purposes. And I think the second piece was there were definitely some group of customers that we weren't able to hit because of some of the limitations of existing products. So for example, the keto groups or the complete anti-sugar group, even though our core products will only have like 3 grams of sugar, even 3 grams is too high for them. So we have no sugar added product that's basically 0 gram sugar. And for that customer group, this is a perfect product to reach that audience.
Yeah, for me, like any gram is too high for me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just try to avoid like just like sugars in general, but it's always really hard because like everything nowadays has sugar in it.
Do you eat fruits?
Yeah, I do, but that's like natural sugar. I'm talking about like artificial sugars.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned like the product that for like a beverage product, the taste is the most important part. Now, talk to me about
By
like
far.
getting someone who never like, tasted like hydration products. Like, how do you even convince them that to even buy it in the first time? Do you make it like is there like like a deal for like a first time purchase? So how do you get them to like sit
Sure.
behind their computer screen and decide to like buy Hydrant?
So a lot of people ask this question, and my answer is first, you don't focus your energy convincing that customer. You focus your energy convincing the customers who are already familiar with this types of value prop or who is already interested in this value prop. That's what you first focus on for at least until you're doing like $100 million in sale. Like that's what I think. And then you hope to reach the customer through convincing storytelling through either your advertising campaign or aggressive referral campaign so that his or her trusted friend will be convincing them through their experience of drinking the product. Because I think like to try to like focus on that customer group, it will just only increase your customer acquisition costs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because like if someone has never like looked into like hydration, or even they don't know like you should be drinking this amount of water anyway, like how would you even like convince them like?
Or think about it this way: like you could have the best CBD product in the world, but if you're someone who just is not really interested or not open to CBD, no matter how much money you pour in, you're just not going to try it. Or like it will take you like $1,000 worth of Facebook ad or whatever XYZ ad to convince that person to change their mind, right? So I think the right approach from my perspective is to focus on the customer who would be interested in this value prop.
Mm-hmm. And I think earlier you mentioned that, was it 40 or 50% of your purchase, of your revenue comes from subscription, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you, from that first purchase, is there like a specific tactic that you're using to get them to come back, or is it the product that just like sells the subscription for you?
So I think a lot of people are trying to be tactical about that. And I'm sure, you know, tactical initiatives will help,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the most important lever is product. Your product has to be good. And it has to be optimized for subscription. So that's one piece. And the way the product's being introduced needs to speak the language that this is for subscription. Now, if you're introduced to Hydrant as a hangover drink, then you only drink it for hangover. And unless you're drinking alcohol all the time, it wouldn't really make sense as a subscription. But if you're introduced to Hydrant as something that you would drink for a workout or first thing in the morning, and you know, then it could be a regular drink for you, right? So I think that entry point on how you discover the product is highly important. And then, you know, beyond that, there are different tactics such as SMS and cohort driven email tactics, you know, could help you with retention. But I think how the product is designed and how you discover the product is the most important part of the retention.
Yeah, like marketing is just perception, right? And then to get that, and the perception might get you to get that first purchase, but the product is definitely going to determine the second purchase, especially for the beverage, right? Like if you drink a beverage, you don't like it, there's nothing that you can say that's going to get someone to come back.
Yeah.
So
it's the type of problem that you're solving, right? Is your problem a recurring problem? And is this a solution for that recurring problem? Or are you trying to solve a one-off problem with this product, right?
Now, you mentioned channels like text or email. So is there like a way that you're collecting that data? Is there like a survey that you have them fill out, or how do you even like segment based on like what, like the entry point?
I mean, we have a lot of these like different types of flows, but the way we think about it is, we always tie everything back to our cohort analysis, and then
Okay.
we would have a benchmark in terms of retention metrics per each cohort, and we'll see, like for each cohort, based on different flows, are they hitting the retention metrics that we're, you know, aspiring towards? And if not, like what do we need to fix and change? What do we need to introduce in addition to this? And that's how we make adjustments on those flows.
Makes sense. Now, you guys are also in retail, and recently, I would say over the past 1 to 2 years, retail has really become more profitable for a lot of direct-to-consumer brands, with a lot of direct-to-consumer brands setting up retail stores. And that is because of the rise of advertising costs on Facebook, Instagram, and pretty much all channels.
Yeah.
Has that been like the same case for you guys, where retail has become a very profitable channel?
Yeah, you know, I would say retail has always been like profitable to the level that just has been. I think non-retail channel has just became more unprofitable, right, compared to a couple years ago, right? If you think about it, I don't think retail has necessarily became more profitable. So the answer is yes, retail is very profitable for us because there is no CAC, but of course you know, that channel will take up more, you know, gross margin compared to direct consumer business. The way we think about our direct consumer is a payback, right? How quickly do we pay back on a contribution margin basis? In terms of retail is how much upfront revenue can we capture with that XYZ contribution margin, and then can we sustain that, right, in those channels? So it's a very attractive channel for us.
Yeah, when I think of like Hydrant, like I can think even like doing like some sort of like flagship store where people are just like like a good experiential store where people come in like taste like different like water or like do something like really cool like that. That could like help even like build like strengthen the relationships with like customers. Is that something that you guys have ever like thought of, like some sort of like experiential store?
Right. That's what a lot of VCs would like love. For
Yeah.
us, we would absolutely never do that. because we are because we are very uh, ROI focused, like return investment focused, and
Yeah.
um, it's a different story if someone gives us like $50 million to play with, but
Yeah.
we're more focused on thinking about every dollar we invest in, how much return is it generating, and that types of experiential store will take a very long time to realize the types of return, and that's not our strategy.
Mhm. Yeah, the reason why I said that is because I've talked to some uh, marketing directors, CMOs, and they mentioned like retail is also a way to get discovered, D2C. And then also like for
Sure.
a newer brand, it might be like a great strategy for providing that social proof. Like this is real, like this is like a real brand, especially like
Yeah, but
for,
by being in like Walmart or Target or Costco, right, like
Mhm.
Whole Foods, I don't know if I don't know if I were if by renting out a space in Soho and pays like $30,000 per month, right? Like to just to create some experience for maybe like 100 people per month. I
Yeah.
just don't know if that's the right play from my
Yeah,
perspective. It also comes down to what is the AOV of your product, right?
exactly.
If you're selling like, you know, $5,000 or $10,000 like high end furniture, sure, maybe it makes sense. But if I'm selling like $30 like hydration product, I don't think
Yeah.
it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you guys have been doing all this on a team of like 13 people. Like you guys are
Yeah.
running pretty lean based on like compared to like other direct
Very
to
lean.
consumer brand. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, our philosophy is, it may sound brutal, but before we hire anyone, additionally in each team, we would like every team member to feel like, oh man, this is overwhelming. I'm
Yeah.
like being fully stretched, and then we figure out um, the timing of the hire, because like what we want to avoid is, like I said, we're very return investment focused. Um, we want to make sure that we hire the right person at a right time, and we think it's really difficult to decide that until the hiring manager goes through the limitations around like, oh, like I need to be able to do XYZ, but I can't do it because I am doing ABC. And
Mhm.
when I'm doing the ABC, like these are the most challenging things. I wish I have someone that is great at the ABC. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. And yeah, I think a lot of like, and I've heard this before, right? A lot of brand just like kind of overhire, especially when they raise money to bring on a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. And I think you guys are doing it right. Actually, like still sticking to like what you did even like before raising money.
Yeah, I mean, I just think about it as like, do you really need that extra hire to hit the metric that you need? Or do you really need that extra hire to hit the milestone you need? And we'll like stress test that. And until we get to a point where we're about to fail that, we don't really add more team members. However, if someone who is like extremely qualified, a very smart person, has the right cultural fit, comes to
Yep.
us,
Yeah.
and we could make an exception on hiring someone a little bit earlier than our
Hmm.
plan. But that's how we think about it, because um, it will, like being stretched thin will give you the best idea on how you also want to design the interview process. Our interview processes are pretty rigorous. For almost all hires, we have a very practically like driven case studies, and those case studies will be designed from that experience when the hiring manager was really like stressed thin.
Hmm. Now, getting more on the personal level, I wanted to ask you, like, over the past couple of years since starting Hydrant, are there any like traits or personal routine that you've picked up that have helped you perform at a high level?
Um, I don't know if these are like helpful to like, perform at high level per se, but I'll share like what are the things that I learned and
Mm-hmm.
that I find it to be helpful, and then what are some of the routines that I go through for the reasons that I do it. So starting with like just routine, fact-based routine, I wake up very early. So I wake up at 4:30 in the morning because I want to work out 5 days a week. So I wake up at 4:30. Um, do my meditations and check my emails and work out at 5:30 in the morning. After I work out in the morning and come back, take a shower, and I squeeze in some reading. So in this way, every morning or almost every morning before I start my day, I can squeeze in meditation. I can read. Um, um, I can also work out. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make those three things as my regular habit. So that's been super helpful. So I always feel like um, I'm not sacrificing my personal life because I'm able to squeeze those in.
Mm-hmm.
So from a mental health perspective, that's been tremendously helpful for me. Um, Even though I have to go through the like ups and downs of startup,
Mm-hmm.
that played a huge role. So those routines definitely help. In terms of like the traits, I think the most important trait is um, having the interest to like know what you don't know. I think is very important. A lot of time you'll just assume you know a lot or most of the
Yeah.
things. I think um, having an interest or like proactive attitude to really ask yourself if you know certain things or if you don't know certain things, it is really helpful because it will make you become more open-minded, and then you will start asking smarter questions more actively to either potential investors, advisors, and you'll quickly figure out what kind of people you need to surround yourself with um, to become really smarter much quickly. I think that helped us to be more open to bring on a lot of advisors in the beginning. When I looked at a lot of my other founder friends, they were very sensitive about dilution, so they didn't want to bring too many investors. They didn't want to bring too many advisors. Everyone was really stingy in especially in the earlier stage. From our perspective, like getting your first business right is really important,
Mm-hmm.
and also not failing the investors that trusted you, right? As a first-time
Yep.
founder was really important. So I think for us, what we cared about was how do we make sure that we minimize wrong decisions, and that's probably by making sure that we learn fast and we become smarter quickly, and we surround ourselves with people who know what the fuck they were talking about. So kind of being curious and being proactive about asking yourself what you don't know, I think it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a
Yeah.
long answer.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I remember when I lived in New York too. It was always fun to like wake up early, go to Rumble boxing classes, and then uh,
Yeah.
yeah, meditate. And I think those are some of the things that working on yourself, right? Not only like on your
Mm-hmm.
business, working on yourself is really important. Well, Jay, thanks for being on the podcast. Now, how can people find you or Hydrant?
Yeah, tell them to go to drinkhydrant.com or go to Instagram at drinkhydrant. They can, find us. And
Yeah.
for this podcast listeners, we created a promo code. Just type Mastery20. We'll give you a 20% discount on your first purchase.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for doing that. We'll definitely leave the links in the description as well as the discount code. Now, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, there is one more question that I'm going to ask Jay,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be only on YouTube. So, Jay, the last question
Okay.
here is: are there any brands that you love or envy, and why?
Um, it's a really interesting question. Any brands that I love? Does it have to be a startup?
Yeah, it can be any brand.
Oh, okay. Well, I love Nike because I use a lot of Nike product. Like I said, I work out every morning and most of my workout gear is Nike. And I like Nike
Okay.
because they're consistent and they do what they say. So I think a lot of consumers have that trust. And I think having that trust is really important.
Yeah, I'll wear mostly Nike products too because I think they do a really great job at staying consistent through their website. Their social media copy is really amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, thanks again for being on the podcast, man.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Personal Mastery Podcast. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, please follow this podcast and leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to this channel for more episodes like this. And as always, thanks again for listening to another episode of the Personal Mastery Podcast.